Here we go.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're well. You're amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. You're looking absolutely amazing, by the way. And I'm going to get straight into the meat and potatoes because I've got an article that I want to go over with you because it asks, it does make us ask the question that is, look, are we toxic when it comes to these true crime cases? Now, I know that some people are going to be jumping in the comments straight away, and they'll be like, yeah, you are. You shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be talking about it. We've talked about this time and time again. But I want to go through this article together and just pull it to pieces slightly with respect of the Jay Slater case, because this is talking about the Jay Slater case and kind of the poisonous... We'll look at it. Let me just skip over to this screen here. So it says, Jay Slater and our true crime poisoned culture. The cruel online response for 19-year-old's disappearance shows how real people's lives have become fodder for content. So let's just start this by saying, look, it's not like social media has done this. Do you know what I mean? We've had TV and radio for many, many years. And there are many, many films, many, many documentaries way before YouTube came about that has spoken about different crimes and the victims of crimes. So it ain't a new thing. You know, this was going back, books even, books being written by serial killers. So this isn't new. This ain't about, you know, there's a new thing, this social media, and it's really starting to make people's lives fodder, cannon fodder for content. The thing is people have always been interested in true crime. People have always been interested in the macabre, and you're not going to stop it. This just gives them a new conduit to it, a different conduit to it, and it gives them a community to be part of that shares in that want and desire to look into these things. I have thoughts and feelings. We'll just carry on a second. Because it says, a teenager goes missing on a holiday abroad. A search party is called. Concerned people at home organise and hope. Friends and family and friends ask for thoughts, prayers, maybe some help getting overseas to join the search. What they basically mean is they set up a GoFundMe. And they set up a GoFundMe with a £30,000 target. One is set up, that's then quickly stopped. Then another one is set up by one of the teenagers who was with the teenager who went missing. Sometimes the teenager is found alive and well, sometimes they aren't. This is how the story of Jay Slater began. Slater, a 19-year-old from Lancashire, went missing on the 17th of June after travelling to Tenerife for a music festival with friends and walking back to his accommodation alone through a mountainous area. His last communication was a call to a member of his group in which he told them his phone battery was on 1% and he had cut his leg on a cactus. The national concern in the UK was immediate, and Slater became an overnight front page story. Within days, though, another version of events began to emerge. A Facebook group dedicated to sharing information related to the search and encouraging people to go hiking around Tenerife in search of Slater themselves gained more than 600,000 members and became cluttered with posts sharing pieces of information scraped from social media. A GoFundMe set up by Slater's family, raising 50 grand, eventually 70 plus, began to draw IRE like speculation and suspicion online, with people demanding to know what the money was for and who it would be going to. Inconsistent statements from Slater's friends became the subject of further conspiratorial speculation. Because the stories were inconsistent, they still remain inconsistent. The overarching narrative is one that you can't really believe without ignoring a massive amount of factors. It'll just be interesting to see whether they talk about them. Almost overnight, the response to Slater's tragic disappearance shifted from international concern to conspiratorial thinking and glib jokes. One TikTok, more than 30 million videos were posted under the subject Jay Slater opinions, with nearly as many for things that don't make sense. Jay Slater. Some videos that speculate whether Slater was actually alive and well gained millions of views each, while some suggested foul play may have been involved. Even more made light of the situation. Memes proliferated, alleging Slater and his friends had scammed the public for cash. These theories were exacerbated by the search being called off on the 30th of June. On the 2nd of July, when the police said there was no indication that Slater had ever been a victim of a crime, Slater's mother made a statement saying the conspiracy theories were hindering the investigation and begged people to stop. She added that many of the vile posts about her son had been sent directly to his friends and family. And look, that's not. What I will say is there are some real fucking weird, fucked up people out there. Some hugely weird, fucked up people who do fabricate information. They fabricate stories, they fabricate videos, they fabricate photographs purposefully to interject into what is happening so they can sit back and watch what they've done. The grenade. And this is why we question people like Mark Williams Thomas and think to ourselves, look, was Mark Williams Thomas somebody who purposefully caused the issues that he caused? Because the vast majority of what they're saying here with respect of these theories and these conspiracy theories were exacerbated by boots on the ground people. The people now who some of them have turned 180 degrees and made out as if they never said anything of the such, and some of them have completely vanished. The aforementioned Mark Williams Thomas has vanished off the face of the planet. The conspiracy theory that Slater's disappearance was a hoax, cooked up by a group of people looking to profit off a naive public, had become widespread. That attitude enabled people to see Slater and his family as acceptable fodder for mockery. But on Monday, the 15th of July, Spanish authorities in Tenerife said rescue workers had found a lifeless body that appeared to be Slater's. LBT Global, a British overseas missing persons charity that was working with the Slater's family, said that the body was found with Slater's possessions and clothing, and that the spot where the remains were found was close to the site of his phone's last location. This story is another example of an increasingly familiar narrative around missing person cases when a body is not immediately found. A true crime-driven social media frenzy causes mass speculation, which presumes a multitude of grim causes and outcomes. Online spectators crassly debate and dissect the case, turning it into clickable, shareable, monetizable content, and then a body is discovered and attention swiftly moves on. We saw this in 2021 when the American 22-year-old Gabby Petito went missing on a road trip, becoming the subject of viral online sleuthing before police found that she had been killed by her boyfriend. It happened again in January 2023 when Nicola Bulley went missing near her home in Lancashire. Millions of videos about the case emerged online. Digital detectives and influencers speculated about her murder and suggested potential suspects. Some even turned up to her hometown for an investigative weekend break before the police eventually uncovered that she had drowned in a local river, finding no evidence of either suspicious activity or third-party involvement. But what we have to admit here is if there is no evidence, it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could push someone in, like in Nicola Bulley's case, for instance, someone could have pushed her in the water and she could have suffered from a spasm of the larynx, for instance, and drowned incredibly quickly. There wouldn't be evidence of foul play. It could be thought that, oh, she just fell in, but someone could have pushed her. That's as simple as that. So, just because the evidence doesn't exist, it doesn't mean that something didn't happen. Summer Wells, there was no indication, no evidence that she was taken away, but the little girl's still missing. She's still missing. Michael Vaughan, for a long period of time, there was no evidence of anything. He was still gone. Sebastian Rogers, there's no evidence of anything, but he remains gone. The response to Jay Slater's disappearance feels particularly striking, marked by a complete lack of concern for his well-being. So they think there's a lack of concern for his well-being, why that there's thousands of people sort of talking about it. Thousands of people online responded to the disappearance of a teenager with cruelly insensitive mockery and a stunning lack of empathy. Now, what I will say, and what I've said this before, let me just come up here, is that people nowadays, there is a lack of empathy. There's a lack of empathy if you want to believe that Jay Slater died in just the general way that they're trying to push out he did. That was caused by a lack of empathy. And that was at the heart of it, would have been his friends. Jay Slater, if he indeed went to this B&B, which I think is now questionable, if he went there and he went walking off and fell into the ravine, that could have been stopped. And it could have been stopped by simply, when he was on the phone to one of his friends, that friend saying, "All right, Jay, stay there and we'll come and get you." That's all that had to happen. And it doesn't make sense that it didn't, especially when you then consider, oh, all of a sudden they then get concerned when he doesn't turn up later. Well, if you're talking to him at 11 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, he's on an 11-hour walk, then he isn't going to be back. You already know that his phone is on 1%, so you're not expecting his phone. So what are we looking at? 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:00, 2:00, 3:00, 4:00, 5:00, 6:00, 7:00, 8:30. He wouldn't have been back until 7:30, 8:30 at night, would he? And that's if the walk went to plan. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me. So you know that he's on a walk. You know that this walk is going to take 11 hours then. But what time does he get reported missing? Why does he get reported missing if you're expecting him to be walking anyway? There's so many things that don't make sense in that. Anyway, I digress. Let's go back. Where are we? Right, though, this is a logical conclusion of our true crime poison culture, in which the sad circumstances of real people's lives are treated as titillatingly suspicious. Because they are suspicious. You can't make something suspicious. It's either suspicious or it's not. And when you add that there's people around Jay Slater that have been arrested, charged, imprisoned for drug trafficking, and this particular situation happens at a place that is renowned for its narcotics difficulties and the aforementioned rave scene, there's suspicion. You can't turn around and criticize people for fucking side-eye and everything. What you got to think is, don't question anything, just trust mainstream media and just trust fucking ex-convicts. And I'm not saying all ex-convicts are bad. People can turn their lives around. And look, Rocky and Bullwinkle may have completely turned their lives around, but it don't stop you being suspicious about it, especially when the story don't make sense. So it says, in this context, the flourishing and gratuitous pseudo-concern sleuthing content is the best case scenario. In the worst case, the disappearance, even their death, becomes a joke. Despite the fact that a body has now been found, the jokes have continued, with posts on Twitter and TikTok still going viral. Some might say that we're approaching a cultural tipping point. If our true crime culture is not contained now, we will be forever desensitized to stories of personal tragedy, the harms of which extend well beyond the cruelty to victims' friends and family. But the treatment of Jay Slater suggests it is already too late. We have tipped into a new norm, a new era in which the lives of real people are merely fodder for true crime content. But again, this has been going on for a long time. They act like it's only sort of recently that people have started making content on true crime. But you could, again, like I said at the beginning of this video, this has been going on for years and years and years. Books that document crimes, films that are loosely based on real events. And, you know, where do they think these ideas come from when they have, like, there are certain films that the serial killer in these films are based on specific people. Like, many of you out there may have watched Scream, the Scream movies. The Scream movies were based on Danny Rawlings. The Scream killer was based on Danny Rawlings. So, you know, you could turn around and say, well, a massive film franchise profited off the back end of making films about a killer who was killing people, and almost like it's all like the spin-offs from it, like the scary movie films, the fun ones, based off of Danny Rawlings, and that is not a funny fucking story, is it? So there is a grey area. There's a fine line. There's a point where you can overstep, cross over the line, and I think it's important that we must try not to do that. You know, when you're talking about flat out accusing people of doing things, that's when you have gone over the line. And sadly, some of us have fallen foul to the accusational things, and we have had to then apologize. But we learn as time progresses. Hopefully you learn. There are other content creators who have absolutely flat out fabricated content for the purpose of obtaining clicks and views. But if you are somebody who is covering true crime and you're covering it because the story that's being pushed out doesn't sit right, or you are the sole purpose that the story is gaining traction and acquiring the money and the funds that are required to help you do what you want to do, it's one of those. You're caught between the devil and deep blue sea. You can't have your cake and eat it, as I say. You can't go to the public and ask for help. You can't go to the public and take £70,000 out of it and then not expect some people to have a negative comment on that. I recently did a GoFundMe. Do you think that every comment that I got was good? No, of course it wasn't. People fucking crucified me for it. And that's just the way it is. Whatever walk of life you're at, there are going to be people that there is a good side and a bad side. Always. You could strike off online true crime content tomorrow and it wouldn't have a positive impact. I can tell you that now. My personal opinion is it would have a negative one. More cases would go unsolved. More cases would get swept under the rug. There would be a type of person out there who may be put off by what could potentially happen with respect of true crime content and how they get followed and how everybody, you imagine the risk of thousands and thousands and thousands of people pulling through everything, turning your fucking life upside down. You get rid of that and you do open up the potential that people are going to think, well, we haven't got to worry about that now. There will be an element. There are people out there who could potentially be put off of doing certain crimes because of the fear of how social media could potentially catch them. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.